Okay, if you ever meet Scott Ginsberg, you won't have to worry about forgetting his name.
Because he wears his name on a tag
all day, every day, for the rest of my life. Sometimes, too. Yeah, that's how I roll. She was sharing some of her insights from the workshop. And she said, without a doubt, the greatest definition of what it means to be approachable. And so I'm quoting her directly. Her exact words are as follows. Oh my God, approachability is like so cool. I'll give you guys a minute if you want to write that down. But the second half, it gets better. She says, well, duh. Leaders have to be approachable. After all, if people can't come up to you, how will they ever get behind you? Oh. It was like in the movies when the light shines down on the mountain. And she's 16 years old, and she understood this. And so I share this example with you because I'm also curious, who's coming up to you? Who wants to sit in your radius? And when they do, what are you specifically doing that makes communication a relaxing experience? So the word approachability, which you guys will read more about in the books that you each have, it comes from the Latin term appropriare, which means to come nearer to. That's kind of cool, to come nearer to. And so when I do workshops and staff training sessions with different salespeople, managers, and frontline employees all across the world, I share with people the number one practice for sticking your person out there. The number one strategy for being more approachable, here's what it looks like. I want you to take careful note at the smile on the pig's face. Are your customers smiling like that? Okay, so I'll just give you one wild guess. Who's the kid in the picture? Me? No. Okay. Excuse me, I do not lick pigs. I lick dogs. Oh, whatever. Don't look at me like I'm this disgusting pet owner. Who has a dog? Keep your hand up if you make out with it. Oh. Liars! So we got this dog in April of last year, and this was a perfect example of how the sales world transfers over to the relationship world. Jackie, you remember her, the smoking hot piece of both brain and eye candy? She calls me Saturday morning about 9:30. I'm on my way to the gym. And the first words out of her mouth were, "Sweetheart, I'm downtown at the Pit Bull Rescue Center." How's that for an opening line? And she went from the opener straight to the close, because this is her next line. "Scott, if somebody doesn't buy this white dog today, they're going to euthanize it. What should we do?" Okay, I've heard of the puppy dog close, but this is ridiculous. And obviously, I sort of had no choice in the matter. And I didn't really want a dog, but it was kind of hard to get home and argue with this. So we named the dog Paisley. Look at the cute little face in the eyes. Not the dog, my girlfriend. And I wanted to share this example with you because when it comes to pets, and when it comes to kids, for that matter, I mean, think about it. We're talking about sticking your person out there, right? We're talking about be approachable. It's so obvious, folks. You need to lick your customers. Any questions on that? No, it's not about saliva. This is about passion. I mean, think about it. Have you ever met someone who at some point got on the topic of their kids or their pets, and they pull out their iPhone, and they say, "Oh, look at the baby, look at the cute little face and make it. I made that. It's so cute." Yes or no, that is a form of selling. You better believe it. I don't believe in selling. I believe in transferring emotion. I wonder what emotions you're transferring in your sales process. You see, it's not just about your passion and embedding that into the conversation, but it's about when you meet somebody, customer or not, excavating the passion of the people that you serve. That's the cool part about passion. There is nothing more approachable in the world than a person with passion, and when it's involved, the rules change. See these 7 words? I can't prove that scientifically. I didn't cut and paste that from Wikipedia. This is just what I've seen in my experience. You ever see someone get on the topic of their passion? Their posture changes, their voice gets excited and faster, and they could talk forever. They're on their soapbox. They're totally engaged in the conversation. It's a beautiful thing. And so your challenge is to find out how to get that involved into the conversation. I'm going to give you some passion-finding questions that you can use today to start laying a foundation of approachability in your interactions. And the questions I'm going to share with you, look at both the question itself and also look at the structure of these questions and sort of what they point to. And think about creating your own list of questions that you can use. Here's my list of questions. I have 6,000 of them. Obviously, we're not going to get to cover all of them today. But that's my passion. Questions. Have you noticed? And I want to share with you some of the best PFQs that I've seen. If you didn't have to work all day, what would you do all day long? The answer to this question gives you insight about what's most important to someone. Or you could ask them, if you were the last human on Earth, what would you still do every day? 2 words, Schwarzenegger. Think about it. I don't mean Governator, I mean Terminator, Arnold. Think back 15 years ago. If you asked this question to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he would say the most important thing, every single day he would still work out at the, because that's his territory, that's his passion. I wonder what would happen if you find out what is so important to your customers that they would do it all day if they could. And what could they talk about forever? That's the soapbox. That's the nature of passion. I wonder what could happen if you found out what it was your customers could talk about forever. There's a fun little game you can play called, let's see how long I can go before I say anything and let this person talk on and on about his or her passion. You always win. And so do they. What's the one thing people couldn't pay you not to do? 2 words, Brett Favre. $20 million not to play football. That's what the Green Bay Packers offered him. And what did he say? See ya, I'm going to the Jets. Or as they are now called, the Bretts. What's the one thing people couldn't pay you not to do? And my favorite, what's under your fingernails? Literally and metaphorically. You think about a mechanic who spent 50 years fixing cars. What's under his fingernails? Grease, oil, yeah. And the essence of what that is, of what that form of service is part of your soul. That's what work is all about. It's not just something you do, it's who you are. And that's what your passion is. You ask questions, not necessarily these, but questions like these, you begin to learn. So, find a way to embed people's passion into the pavement that leads the way. This is something I learned from another one of my clients. Unusually, one of the groups that I speak to every year, a couple times a year, is the International Cemetery and Funeral Association. Every time I kill. It's a great group. And I learned that the funeral directors, they don't see themselves in the funeral industry. They're not in the business of death. They're in the business of celebration. And one of my audience members told me that when they celebrate and honor the life of someone who has passed away, they like to create a funeral arrangement that is revolving around that person's passion. For example, I don't know what the rules on pictures at funerals are, but after you went to this, you would come home and you would have to tell everyone you knew all about it. What questions are you asking? Passion leads to comfort. Comfort leads to engagement. Engagement leads to trust, and trust closes sales. How are you incorporating passion?